Shabbat Shalom. I just came from my Shabbat. We had a lot of energy. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, thank you. That's good. Have you ever lost something that was right in front of your face? Because I do on a weekly basis. My car keys, my watch, my phone. You have to do one of those things where you ask somebody else to call you, and you listen. Where is it ringing? Or if you're like a millennial or younger, you listen just for the vibrations, because we don't have ringtones anymore. And as often as not, isn't it pretty much right in front of you? I have lost count of the number of times that I have laid down this access card. The card that gets you into the building, it gets you into the gate, gets us into the area where our offices are. And it's very important. So I lose it. I frantically search for it. I look everywhere. I look in my coat. I look in my purse. I look in my other coat. I look in my other purse. I have multiple. And I'm convinced that it's missing. It's gone. It's fallen into a crack between the car seats, a crack in the sidewalk, a crack in the universe. It's gone. And I'm panicked. And where is it? It's in my coat or my purse. Basically, it's right in front of my face. How could I not see it, though? It's right there. It's in front of my eyes. They're still working, but it's like I can't even see it. It defies logic. But we all have these experiences, not seeing things that are right there, until suddenly we do. And then it's like, of course, now I see it. How could I have not seen this thing? How could I have missed it? How many times did my eyes pass over my keys? They were just laying there. But it wasn't until something happened that I actually saw them. And this happens with bigger things than keys or wallets or phones or watches. We see it, actually, see what I did there? In the parsha we read today, in Bo. We're in the plaguey part, the very last plaguey part of the Torah. The Egyptians are being punished with God's mighty hand, outstretched arm, and there's swarms of locusts. They come, they eat everything, and then afterwards, Moses holds out his arm, and darkness descends on the land of Egypt for 3 days. For 3 days, it's dark. It's so dark, people could not only not see each other, they were paralyzed. But it's not even like a physical, like a natural darkness. It's not like the light's just going out. Otherwise, no one in the whole land would be able to see. The land would be bathed in darkness. But it's not actually true. Because who could still see? Who still enjoyed light? I heard it. The Israelites. The Israelites. Egypt was clearly actually full of light. It was the Egyptians themselves who were plunged into darkness. If you stood an Egyptian and an Israelite next to each other with their eyes wide open, the Egyptian would say, "I can't see you," and the Israelite would, wave hello. After 3 days, though, something changed in the Egyptians. Suddenly, after this plague of darkness, the Torah tells us Moses was much esteemed be'enei ha'am, in the eyes of Pharaoh's servants and people. Rabbi Yitzhak Shmuel Reggio, obviously an Italian, explained that it took a plague of darkness to really open the Egyptians' eyes. And for hundreds of years, the Egyptian people, they lived alongside Jewish slavery. And they became inured to it. They were so used to seeing this suffering, this subjugation, they didn't see it at all. But the experience of darkness, total and true and complete darkness, brought light to their eyes. No longer could they accept the suffering of a people even as alien as the Jews. And no longer could they accept Pharaoh's evil. That's why, Rabbi Reggio points out, right after this happens, the Egyptians, the Torah tells us, they give away their valuables to the Israelites. It was as if they saw these people who they never noticed before. They were so used to seeing them, but not seeing them. These people, they were human beings. And they deserved recompense, and even more importantly, they deserved dignity. How much in our own lives do we miss because we're so used to seeing it or them? Has anyone here ever worked in retail or food service? I did. No, retail, food service. Some of the kids are raising their hands there. So you know what I'm talking about. If you ever want to feel like an object, work in retail or food service. It's like you're just a thing with information, a thing that takes money, gives change. And people are slightly nicer here in Texas, I will admit, than other places I've lived, but it's still distressingly common to just be treated like an object. We just don't see the people who do these service jobs, who clean up after us, who bag our groceries, who clean our homes, who mow our lawns. They check in the back for extra for whatever it is we want, who are often on the receiving end of our frustration. I personally always found it easier not to argue with people over expired coupons. And I'm talking like expired, like years expired coupons. I shouldn't have taken them, but it was easier not to argue with them because of the way you'd be treated. Worse were times you'd get, snapped at for not being fast enough or complained to for prices being too high, like I as a cashier affect the prices. But the worst of all is not being talked to at all. No eye contact at all. I could have been a machine for all it would have changed anything in our interaction. And hour after hour of this, person after person, customer after customer, it's dehumanizing. And if that's how we treat people who do work for us, think about the people we never really see at all. The homeless, the elderly, the infirm, those with mental illness, those who are a combination of all three. They're all around us all the time. I promise you it's true. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're not there. And they feel this harder and deeper than anyone. I remember talking to an elderly woman in an assisted living facility, and this was years ago, and she said that the thing she missed the most was physical touch. Just a friendly hand in hers. Plenty of people manhandled her, she reassured me, put her into clothes, wheeled her to meals, helped her bathe. But it wasn't the same, she said, as someone just holding your hand as they sat with you. But who has the time to sit with someone who's elderly and alone, to reach out and touch them and see them, really see them? I think part of the reason that we avoid looking at or touching or interacting with the elderly or the mentally ill or the homeless, we don't want to feel bad. We don't want to feel guilty like we're not doing anything to help or we couldn't really fix, the situation anyway. I think a lot of it is fear. We fear becoming like them. We fear growing old. We fear having problems that are too big for us to manage. So maybe it's self-preservation. It makes us shut our eyes, harden our hearts to really our most vulnerable populations. But we can't afford to. We cannot afford to do this. As Jews, we know firsthand, just read about it, what it feels like for people to walk by and not see you. And as Jews, we cannot ignore the humanity of other human beings. Look, this isn't the big sermon where I tell everyone to go out and donate lots of money or time or goods. That stuff's important. It is. And I think that it's related to what I am going to say. But what I'm saying is much more basic, much more fundamental. It's that we need to treat people who we don't interact with on a regular basis with the same basic civility that we treat those who we do. A nod, a smile, a wave, eye contact. The person who clears the table at kiddush lunch, the person who rings up your purchases when you go to the store, and all those who struggle with the things that we fear the most. We don't need a plague of darkness to make us see the light. After all, we Jews have always seen the light. and I hope that we always do. Shabbat Shalom.